I'm going to be rolling out Battlefield 6 coverage on the channel. I already have weapon guides in the works, but before those drop, there's one topic we need to cover clearly, and that's bloom. It's been a hot topic. So today I'm going to explain what bloom is, how it functions in Battlefield 6, and what you can do to counter it. I've built simple animations so you can see it visually, along with using visuals from the weapons in the game, and then I'll translate all that into practical fixes. Now, if your gunfights sometimes feel inconsistent or just plain awful, I'm going to show you why that's happening and how to fix it. Along the way, I'm also going to point out a few settings, and there's some areas I think that really need tuning with bloom that the developers should take a look at. So let's start. In settings, go to graphics, then crosshair and indicators. I keep infantry crosshair projection off so the crosshair stays static and centered at all times. That consistency matters when you're learning recoil, spread, and bloom. In a personal preference, I set my headshot color to green. Pick any color you'd like, but when you get headshots, the actual hit marker and number will be green. For me, seeing that distinct hit feedback helps you a couple different ways. Knowing that you're landing headshots, knowing that your shots are true. Once you learn the TTK of your weapons, a 4-bullet kill, a 5-bullet kill within 50 meters, so on and so forth, you know how much you're going to need. But let's get into the main topic of the video. What is bloom? In short, bloom's the random spread of shots around your aim point. The inaccuracy cone. This is completely separate from recoil, but both are layered to make the shooting experience. Recoil is the physical kick, moves your reticle when you fire, jumps around, and bloom's the distribution of the bullets around that reticle. Bloom happens with the accuracy cone of a weapon. It's an imaginary cone that comes out the barrel of your weapon, and we don't have DICE's exact bloom formula. There's no public numbers that I could find for the base cone, the cone angle, how fast it grows or decays, but we can observe how it behaves and how they did it. Bloom's an escalating mechanic. It starts small on your first shot, grows as you hold the trigger. Now, as the accuracy cone expands, technically, bullets can land anywhere inside of it. Each weapon is different. Adding different attachments, different movements all affect this cone. When you pause, the cone shrinks back to its base. It decays. And in Battlefield 6, it decays very fast. If you keep spraying long enough, it reaches a cap, where you're essentially just sampling a big circle. There is a point of max bloom. So I'm going to refer to two useful states as we go on. Initial accuracy, which is your first shot condition. This is where the cone is the smallest. And then final accuracy, which is the fully expanded state of the cone after sustained fire. Initial accuracy, first shot accuracy, and then final accuracy. This is why it's widely encouraged to tap fire, because the decay in Battlefield 6 is very fast, because every time you tap, you're resetting it back to initial accuracy, which is huge. More on this later. In-game, you're going to see two stats that map to this, precision and control. And for this video, think of precision as accuracy, or bloom, and control as recoil. The higher the control, the less jumpy the weapon feels during sustained fire. The higher the precision, the tighter your spread and grouping of your shots are going to be near center. This is because the accuracy cone doesn't bloom as large. The cone isn't as wide. On the flip end, low control makes the gun feel wilder, jumping all over the place, and lower precision means a looser group of bullets. Both of these matter, and they both solve different problems. And soon I'm going to go over attachments, how various things affect bloom, what they do to it. But visually, in-game, when in hipfire, for any given weapon, your crosshair is a literal one-to-one representation of the accuracy cone. You have the center dot, you have the four corners, making a plus sign. Combined, they make the circle. This is the accuracy cone. In hipfire, this is the initial accuracy. When there's sustained fire, this grows out, it blooms out. The accuracy cone widens. For this particular weapon, with these attachments, this is the final accuracy. Bullets can go anywhere inside of here. This is the hipfire cone. It is one-to-one. It is separate from the aim down sights cone. When you aim down sights, the cone gets clamped. It gets really tight, and you actually see it happening briefly as you aim down sights. It's shrinking, clamping in. And when you are aiming down sights, it's more like this. This is just a visual example. It's much, much smaller. But the same thing happens with sustained fire. It's gonna grow. The cone is invisible now, but it's there. It's still widening. It's still blooming out. Certain things accelerate bloom. Certain things reduce it. Basically, they are penalties and benefits. Penalties, we have walking, sprinting, jumping, sliding. There's accuracy cone penalties added to them when you do these movements. This causes your starting initial accuracy, your first shot accuracy, to be a lot worse, and it gets worse from there. Not only that, since there's a penalty applied, there's a new cap for how much it can bloom out. Even something as simple as walking, you get a penalty. You see how the initial accuracy jumps a tad, it widens. And whenever you see the widening of a cone from a penalty, that's added to the initial shot, where you start, and on the back end of final accuracy, that's added on too, so it gets even larger. Sliding, same thing. In the act of the slide, the penalty is there. It widens and makes you inaccurate. Jumping is really bad, and it gets even worse as you fire. It's a really, really bad one. And then we have some benefits. Standing still, this is just base. Then crouching, you'll see that the cone tightens up. It gets more accurate. And then you go prone, another level to it. It goes even more. But something that I want to get into, and I hope that they look at this, is the sprint to fire penalty. Since they have this overall movement penalty, sprinting is part of that. And this right here is a big outlier. I guarantee you a lot of you have felt this, have seen this. I see a lot of clips on X. In a lot of cases, it's this situation right here. Here's what's happening. When you sprint, it adds bloom. Again, the penalty. You can actually see it briefly as you start to sprint. See how the reticle just gets wider? This results in a weird situation where when you aim down sights out of sprint, that cone is shrinking back to normal, while also applying a penalty for just walking and aiming down sights. So it results in your initial accuracy in these gunfights to be all over the place. And there's multiple examples here. Sprint, see an enemy, aim down sight, shoot your first shot, it misses. Because in the background, the accuracy cone is coming from sprint, trying to figure it out to get back to normal, but you're walking now, so there's a penalty for that. It feels awful. And compounded, we have attachments like, let's say, a stubby grip for an SMG. It'll take my ADS time to 133 milliseconds. So it's faster. You're an SMG. You want to be snappy. So we now have this weird situation where when you sprint to ADS, there's a penalty and you're pulling out your gun even faster. You're ADSing even faster, meaning the accuracy is even worse. So I hope that they take a look at this. And this is a big thing in your gunfights now. Know that this is there, and we'll talk about it later as we go. Moving on. Next, we have the recoil, attachments, and weapon archetypes. Also the classes. None of this is created equal. First, how does recoil play into this? How does the control stat play into this? Bloom and recoil are different systems, but they stack on every shot. Imagine this. Just an example, it's very exaggerated. This is just a visual here. Say you have a good recoil, a good control stat, and you're doing good controlling that recoil. You're staying on target with it. This means that your center point is more or less right where you're aiming. It's jumping around, you're controlling it, the stat's helping. It's not moving way far left, right, up and down. Bloom is still happening with sustained fire. And the more that you fire, shots will go off center with sustained fire. They will bloom out. But your center point is right where it needs to be. So when it does bloom, its reference point is from where you are. So it's sticking close to where you're aiming. Compared to the complete opposite. Say you have poor recoil, a bad control stat. It's jumping all over the place. Left, right, up, down. You're trying to fight it. Every time that that thing jumps and pops in a direction, it's taking the cone with it. Meaning the center point is being moved in the direction of the recoil, and the cone's uniform to that. This is what poor recoil, poor accuracy does. Because not only is it jumping off of your center line, and it's moving it to a new spot, if you have poor precision with that, poor accuracy stat, that cone is getting extremely wide, and the bullets can fly way off the target. And then, of course, while you're aimed out sights, a lot of this is smaller, but it's still happening. And when you get the stats up, the control, the precision stat, we can see how they compare to low stats in game. Let's take a look at two extremes. We have the same family. We have some carbines here. And I'm still working on leveling, but this AK-205 has 79 precision, 72 control, compared to the M277, 20 precision, 33 control. A huge gap. And when you put them in game, the precision stat is applied globally. The accuracy stat is globally, so hipfire or ADS. And when you put them side by side, because it has way more precision, look at how much tighter and smaller the accuracy cone is for the AK. And when you overlay them, the AK is the white one, the green reticle is the 277, you see how much better the starting accuracy is. And then you fire. And with this, I have sustained fire. I'm just holding down the trigger. Since the AK has such high stats, those two key stats, precision and control, I'm able to keep it centered. It isn't moving very far, and the bloom doesn't go out wide. Its final accuracy is almost like the 277's initial accuracy. So having both of these stats high is twofold. It starts smaller, and it stays small, and it doesn't bloom as wide. Then we take a look at the 277. When it fires, it blooms out way wide. Not only is it blooming out very wide, its recoil is bad. So those bullets within the cone are following that. It's jumping all around. This isn't hip fire. It is clamped when ADS, but this is what's happening. And when you overlay the final accuracy, max bloom, sustained fire, look how much more centered it is. Look at how much more accurate it is. So when you have a high control stat, you're making your center point easier to maintain, staying on target. When that pairs with high precision, high accuracy, not only is it making the initial accuracy better to land shots, but when you have some sustained fire, it's keeping them closer to your center point because it isn't blooming out as much. It's basically trying to vacuum in instead of fanning out. And this is per archetype, per subfamily too. If you take an LMG with a 31 accuracy stat, then take the M4 with the attachments I have it at 31 accuracy, they're not the same. The LMG has a wider cone because it's an LMG, but you take into account the LMG has a 100 round magazine. It sprays, bullets land. Then we have something like the SMGs. Inherently, they have very high precision and recoil. Good stats on those, and a lot of players are gravitating them because they feel the best, and they feel the best because of this. Just at base, the MG40 has 56 precision, 54 control. A lot of weapons can't even dream of getting to that. And damage-wise, they can compete at range. You can hold the trigger a little bit longer, they feel good because of that base high precision and control. You have snipers, a 100 precision stat. That's 100 accuracy, so if you're standing still, crouching, prone, not moving, that bullet goes exactly where that dot is. Right where you're aiming. Distance taken into account, of course, but the moment that you strafe, you're walking, a penalty is applied, meaning it isn't 100% accurate now. That bullet can bloom, it can miss. We have the actual classes. Breacher Assault for the Assault class. Faster draw time with assault rifles, fires faster when exiting sprint. Then Agile Shooter, reduced movement speed penalty when firing while moving. Engineer has the SMG proficiency, improved hip fire when using SMGs. Support has the LMG proficiency, faster transition to aim down sights, and a no sprint speed penalty when carrying the LMG. The Fire Support tree, improved weapon control when shooting from mounted positions. Recon Sniper proficiency, less sniper sway, and more. All of those add to your shooting experience. When you build weapons, look for these stats. Look at what they do. Not only do they give you bumps to key global stats, but within the text, there's things that are translated in-game but not on the stat sheet, like linear compensator. Gives you more accuracy, but it's reducing horizontal recoil in favor of more stable vertical recoil, which is good. You have the grip, like a classic vertical. Greatly reduces recoil, so a huge bump to the control stat. You also get precision stat help, but it says at the cost of movement speed and accuracy while aiming down sights. And I tested this, and whatever penalty they put on this, I feel is kind of negligible. And I think it is because they've added a precision stat boost, but honestly, you're getting a precision penalty no matter what when you ADS and move. I haven't really noticed it or felt it. Then let's say you put on a laser. This is another benefit to Bloom, and it's just for hip fire only. It clamps down the hip fire cone, and this is a way to get around the sprint to fire penalty I talked about earlier, because if you're sprinting, see someone, keep it in hip fire. If they're in hip fire range, it stays clamped, the shots are accurate. So like in this case, again, the precision stat can lower hip fire globally, but adding a layer separately tightens the spread. So to get the least bloom, land more shots, keep in mind the 4 main bloom mitigators: standing still, crouching, going prone, and tap firing. Like if you're holding an area, if you're holding an angle, crouch, go prone if it allows. And you're holding the area anyway. Your shots are a ton more accurate. If you're at a distance, one of the top things you need to do is tap fire, and they are encouraging it. Tap firing is the best way to bypass all this because it's resetting to your initial accuracy. And at that point, a lot comes into play. Rate of fire, damage, range distance. Like 900 RPM, bullets come out very fast. So even though you're tapping and feathering, there's a lot of bullets coming out. And it can still have a fast and deadly TTK when you tap fire, like with the M4. And on the flip side, damage. Like no joke, a lot of these high damage ARs or carbines with like 33 damage, I've found a ton of success putting them in single shot. And again, another benefit, another reducer is the trigger. It's on the back, ergonomics, it improves weapon performance in semi-auto, reducing recoil and increasing accuracy. A lot of ways, these things feel better than actual DMRs. They're extremely accurate. You tap fire, it reminds me of an FAL. Being precise, high damage, semi-auto tap fires. And on top of that, it's not full auto, so it doesn't have that added on penalty for being aimed on sights with a fully automatic weapon. Keeping all this in mind, keep your gunfights disciplined. Plant your feet before you shoot if you can. Don't fire mid-jump, mid-slide. There are times that you're going to because you have to, but know how severe the penalties are. For the most part, you're going to be using short controlled bursts. Tap fire or 3 to 6 rounds, and this gives it a quick beat to let the cone reset. If you're sprinting, see someone, they don't see you, add a little micro pre-aim. That way you fully stop, the cone settles, there's no sprint to ADS penalty, and get the elimination. You're gonna crouch when you can, it tightens your starting cone, and with your attachments and just overall, you build precision to shrink the cone itself globally. You add control so your sight stays centered and your bursts actually land. We have lasers for hipfire bonuses when you're not ADS. Otherwise, when you're in ADS, high precision is a much tighter cone and your shots are gonna land. You can practice on a wall with bursts, pauses, keep the pattern tight, keep the sight steady, keep the cone small, not giving Bloom time to run away from you. There's a lot to cover in this game. I've researched how they've done their archetypes, their damage ceilings, floors for each one, how RPM plays into account in this game, damage modifier scalars. A lot of it's very clever. I can't wait to cover them. So there's a lot to talk about coming up on the channel. So if you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Let's talk about this Bloom system. My goal today was for you to understand it. What's actually happening when you mess with certain stats. On the fly in situations, you make decisions on your positioning. That way you have the best outcome to get your elims. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Appreciate you hanging out with me today. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.